Yes, everybody. Welcome to Patrick Christie's Tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Of course, tonight we're going to reflect on yet another dithering, disastrous week for the Prime Minister Keir Starmer. A week where his mettle was tested yet again as the war against the Islamic regime in Iran has well and truly kicked off, hasn't it? Well, let's go back a little bit, shall we? Saturday, the Prime Minister got a call from Donald Trump, the President of the United States, asking if he could use our military bases against strikes against Iran. What does Keir Starmer do? Absolutely nothing! Yes, that's right. Sunday evening comes around and we hear the news that a drone has hit one of our military bases, our sovereign bases in Cyprus.
Flying over Cyprus and the wider region, shooting down multiple drones, at least one of which was heading towards a base housing British military personnel.
Oh, yes, and what does our great leader Keir Starmer do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing! Almost got it, yeah, almost there. All right. Monday morning, and the war is raging on, of course. Now, Dubai, that hosts hundreds of thousands of tourists and expats, has seen strikes against their airports and hotels. Scary stuff, right? And what does our glorious leader do, Keir Starmer? Absolutely nothing! There you go. Then later, that same day, Keir Starmer commits to yet another embarrassing U-turn. I don't know how many it is anymore. It's like 19, 20, who knows? We've lost count. And then he agrees to let the USA use our bases.
By the way, I'm not happy with the UK either. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's not great, is it? Days later, by the way, on Wednesday, after Cyprus and our Middle Eastern allies essentially have slammed the Prime Minister for his failure to do anything, he finally decides to send HMS Dragon out to defend our troops. But guess what? HMS Dragon could do absolutely nothing for days because it was stuck in Portsmouth, wasn't it? We finally found out that reportedly Donald Trump had been calling the Prime Minister a loser with no future. Absolutely no future. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, and rather than bite back, Keir Starmer did absolutely nothing. But here's the difference between Keir Starmer and Donald Trump for you.
Best way forward for the regime and the world is a negotiated settlement with Iran where they give up their nuclear ambitions.
Yeah, he wants to negotiate with the Ayatollah. How's Trump tackled terrorists in the past, by the way? What did he say?
I'm going to bomb the out of them. It's true. I don't care.
Yeah, you got to hand it to the man. He's got away with words, hasn't he? You know, it leaves me begging the question, right? I remember this. It came to my mind. I was like, did Rishi Sunak have the Prime Minister bang to rights at the last election?
Well, do you know where these people come from?
No, he's not answering the question.
Do you know where
you
they come from? Iran,
you can see.
Syria, Afghanistan. So when Keir Starmer says he's going to return people, is he going to sit down? Are you going to sit down with the Iranian Ayatollahs? Are you going to try and do a deal with the Taliban? It's completely nonsensical what you are saying.
He had him, didn't he? Let's face it, he had the Prime Minister bang to rights, didn't Rishi Sunak? But there you have it. Right.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Joining me to discuss this is former Conservative MP Anna Firth, journalist and broadcaster, reform councillor Russell Clerk, and of course my old arch nemesis, journalist and whatever he does these days, Benjamin Butterworth. There we go. Gentlemen in the audience, Sid, would you like to ask a question?
OK, thank you. It's Sid Cordell. I'm leader of the Christian People's Alliance. So the question I'd like to ask is Keir Starmer's been using as his excuse for doing nothing international law. Now, we have no international government making international law, so where does international law come from? Isn't international law just the opinion of some human rights lawyers who actually it's of no value whatsoever? So international law is actually just an excuse Keir Starmer's using for doing nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, Benjamin, let's start with you. International law, who's enforcing it?
Well, if anybody wrote international law, it was the UK, because a lot of this has come from the alliance between the US and the UK after the Second World War. And I would point out that as a mid-sized country in a world increasingly dominated by so-called great powers, whether that's the US, China, Russia, it will be India and Brazil, that actually international law that says you can't just go in and bomb another country might be quite important, because our future doesn't look as secure as our past. And so I think that is really important. And then I also think I find it utterly perverse from people that claim to be patriots that when a foreign leader in Donald Trump criticises the leader that this country chose, everyone races to support him and undermine their own country. I don't think that sounds like patriotism. Now, I do agree with going in and taking the Ayatollah out, because I've been on the receiving ends of his bombs. But the idea that Keir Starmer isn't being patriotic or responsible by saying there's no plan, there's no strategy, that they're not actually helping the Iranian people to take back control of government is perfectly legitimate.
So you've just been very unpatriotic because you completely agreed with Donald Trump that we should have actually got involved and that actually we should be taking out the Ayatollah. But you've called
I didn't say we should be involved.
Supports Donald Trump unpatriotic. So you're talking once again out of parts of your body that are
I'm saying, why do right-wingers like you race to celebrate a foreign leader undermining our country? What is patriotic about that?
By a wet lettuce. That is why.
But
and I'll tell you what.
He's our wet lettuce.
Just because he's our wet lettuce, he didn't want to be Trump's poodle, but what he's ended up being is a dodo, just a completely pointless, a creature that should no longer exist. And the thing is, this has been an absolutely nightmare week for Keir Starmer, not because of the near outbreak of World War III, but because he might have had to have an opinion on something, and he is incapable of doing that. And we saw it with his flip-flopping. Oh, no, you're not going to use British bases. Oh, actually, no, you are going to use British bases. And America is our ally. We should be giving America support. Okay. And the fact that we're not is absolutely outrageous. He is useless. He believes in nothing. He is not a leader. He is a joke.
All right. So, obviously, as you said, he's U-turned and allowed the United States to use these bases. Now, we know that some of the aircraft will be flying from it. Is it too little, too late, Russell, or is he managed it just right?
No, of course it's too little, too late. He's procrastinated, hasn't he? And, shown that he can't make a decision. Did you see this, by the way, this week? One of the best things on social media was this package thing, which instead of it being an action man in a box, it's labelled with Keir Starmer's figure in it, inaction man. Which I thought was the best thing on the internet this week. Look, he's hiding behind international law, of course he is, which some say doesn't even exist. And it doesn't really, because, of course, there's no real international court to uphold it. So very, very, very clear that he's he's using that as something to hide behind. And frankly, we don't want a Prime Minister that is concerned about what some judge might say somewhere, particularly if it's a European one, by the way, in my book. We want a leader, not a conveyancer, don't we? In my opinion. And I'm afraid that the reality is, when it comes to world events, sometimes world events kind of overtake or run in front of the law. The law often has to catch up. Can you imagine, just one example, can you imagine in 1939 when Adolf Hitler was invading Poland, despite the fact that Neville Chamberlain had been promised that he wouldn't do such a thing, and we sat on our hands and did nothing because international law told us not to do anything? We would now be speaking German, ladies and gentlemen.
OK, quick poll of you in the audience. Do you think this has been a humiliation for our country the last week? Clap if you would think it has been. There we go. Anna, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right to say that international law is it's a bit of a nonsense, because without anyone to enforce it, it's a bit like having laws in this country without a police force to enforce them. They're meaningless. However, they are good guidelines, and I would argue, as I have already argued this evening, that there is plenty to say under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter that actually the US and Israel had the right to launch these strikes because of the repeated attacks that have already been visited on Israeli soil. Now, when one of our allies has the right legally to take force, we, as one of their allies, also have the right to use force in support of our ally. So I would say that actually there's a perfectly respectable argument. Lord Wolfson has set it out very clearly on Twitter for saying that actually the action taken has been legal. But even
Anna, that's a different question.
Let me finish, Benjamin. I don't always interrupt you. I do sometimes. But because the second point, which I think is just as important, is you've got to be able to see the big picture. And this is what Keir Starmer can never do.
Right.
Because if you conclude, I can't do anything, what does that actually mean? It means you are supporting the Ayatollahs, you are not standing up for the Iranian people, you are not standing up for British interests, and you are not standing up for our allies either.
Benjamin.
There are two different questions here. It's one thing that the US and Israel made an agreement to take this action. It's quite another that all of our money and our resources, which militarily are limited, should go on this action. You can say that the US and Israel had the might and the right to do it, but why does that mean that suddenly we have to do everything a US president says? What is strong about that? We didn't join in Vietnam, and people don't condemn Britain for that. They say it was right.
I want to put my 2 pence out there. This has been a complete and utter humiliation of our country. We've had missiles and drones fired at our troops who are sat in Cyprus being defended by the Greeks and the French.
Yep.
I mean, for goodness sake, Nelson would be turning in his grave, and the Socialist and Spanish. This is an absolute disgrace on our country. Our enemies around the world will be looking at us and going, well, they're easy targets, aren't they?
So, Benjamin, do you think that Rishi Sunak was wrong, then, in January 2024, when Iran sponsored the Houthis to attack our merchant seamen in the Red Sea? Was Rishi wrong, then, to take action against them?
I think Rishi Sunak has a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah,
Sorry?
even the Italians have got involved. Jeff Back said, you're absolutely right.
The fact that the Revolutionary Guard, the evil people running Iran, were not prescribed, despite constant demands of a Tory government to do so, has meant that this has carried on. And also, I think Labour's wrong. Lebanon banned the Iranian Revolutionary Guard today, and Britain still hasn't. But your government didn't do anything. That is what set this up.
That is a complete distraction.
Can I just answer your question, though? Because do you know, right, how many thousands of these drones that Iran have, right? And we are completely undefended from them. I was listening to Tobias Elbert today, doing a radio interview, talking about how so many of them could get here and how we are undefended by them. So, in answer to your question, the reason that we should have been more allied with America, and that doesn't mean getting involved, is because we need them to help us. If we get attacked, we are up the creek. And that's why we need the USA.
Can we also just tackle the futility of this nonsense that we can somehow negotiate with the Iranian regime, right? Obama tried to do that a few years ago. In fact, he gave the Iranians billions and billions of dollars to stop them progressing with a nuclear program. Guess what they spent the money on? A nuclear program.
Yeah. It's absolutely bonkers. I mean, this is the problem. It shows to Putin and to anyone else that are enemies around the world that we're just going to roll over and have our belly tickled by enemies. We haven't got time, unfortunately, for more debate.
Surely invading another country shows to Putin that you can do that. Now, I do think the Ayatollah is evil, but there's a complete hypocrisy in it.
We had missiles about to hit our sovereign territory and we did nothing.
All right, listen,
That's unacceptable.
there you have it. I mean, I think it's a complete humiliation for our country. Margaret Thatcher will be rolling in her grave,
Exactly.
Nelson and everybody else. They really will be. It's a disaster for us.